The March real estate numbers are out, and they just smashed every single record across the board. Hey, and welcome to the Vancouver Life Real Estate Podcast and YouTube channel. As I just mentioned, the March real estate numbers are officially in, and essentially every single number across the board has been broken. We saw 5,708 homes sold last month, which is 126% more than the March from 2020, and even 53% higher than just last month. But, let's open up the scope here and talk about context. Last month's sales numbers, 72% higher than the 10-year average. It just beat out the all-time high previous number, which was created in March of 2016 with about 5,200 homes sold. So, this last March just set a record by about 10% higher. It's a significantly higher record. Demand was, it was most pronounced in the rural and suburban areas. Delta, South area, they saw 196% sales volume increase from last year. That was pretty much, the highest across the GVRD. Now, that was followed by Whistler. Whistler saw 195% increase in sales compared to the year before, and Squamish, 188% more sales than March 2020. So you can really see the demand for for people and home types in these sort of secondary markets and areas that provide an incredible outdoor lifestyle. That's where a lot of the demand has clearly shifted to in these last 12 months. Now, interestingly, we're coming off of the highest sales volumes ever recorded. Well, guess what? Listings also set an all-time high with almost 8,300 homes hitting the market. That's 87% more than the March of 2020 and 64% more than just last month. Okay, so we're at an all-time high. And unlike the sales numbers, which you had to look back to March of 2016, the all-time high beat out April of 2020, where we saw 7,660 homes sold, or listed rather. This is the first time that we've seen the listings hit higher than that 8,000 in one single month. So interestingly, 8,300 homes were listed just last month, but the total inventory across the board right now is only 9,145 homes. And that's actually down from last year, down about 5% from March 2020. And it's also, again, looking at the bigger picture here, about 19% below the 10-year average. So low inventory is clearly still one of the many drivers that has the upward pressure on prices continuing here. Now, here's another record to talk about. Sales to active listings ratio, 62%. This is an all-time high, beating out that good old March of 2016, which was 60%. So for context here, the seller's market is known to be anything above 20% that is sustained for 3 or more months. Anything above 20% for that time frame, generally we see an upward trend in pricing. We're at 62% sales to active listings ratio. That essentially means for any 10 homes that hit the market in that month, 6 of those are selling. When we break it down, detached homes, about 53% sales to active listings ratio. Townhomes are what is clearly leading the pack here with an 80% sales ratio. 8 out of 10 townhomes that hit the market sell in that first 30 days. And condos are at 65% sales to active listings ratio. So clearly all 3 markets well into a seller's market here. And let's talk about the price. So we've got the HPI index, or the home price index rather. That's the benchmark price that it's a little bit more realistic than just looking at average or median sales, because this takes all sales types and all sales sort of homes that are in the most demand, and kind of sort of averages them out, puts it through an algorithm, tells you approximately what your average Vancouver home really is. Also, an all-time high. We've got a record-breaking HPI benchmark price for a residential home in Vancouver, $1,123,000. That just jumped $39,000 last month alone. So the previous all-time high was dates all the way back, to May of 2018, where it was $1,094,000. So not only did we just jump into the most expensive home price ever, but it was a $30,000 jump, or we're $30,000 higher than the previous record because we just jumped almost $40,000. This new HPI price it represents about a 9.5% increase from March last year. 9.5%. The average home is up from just last year. But this is what's really crazy. Homes went up 3.6% in value last month alone. I need to re-say that. 3.6% just last month. Now, think of the 2021 season or year, that we've had so far. Q1, 3 months. January, homes went up 0.9%. Then that escalated into February, where we saw 2.6% price appreciation. And March just hit 3.6% in 1 month. We're literally up 7.1% in home price values in Q1 alone. And I mean, we're on pace for what, 28, 30% price appreciation right now. If that were to continue, which it won't, but if it were to continue, the average home goes up 300 grand this year. This is just, again, we keep saying unsustainable, but this is what the data is showing us that has happened in the first quarter of this year. Let's break it down by home type here, because detached homes, they saw, actually, no, wait, I'm going to go back a second here. I just talked about the HPI price, but as I mentioned, there are other ways that we track sales prices, right? And one of those is median. So the median sale price in March was $900,000 even. Yes, that's an all-time high, and that only beats the previous all-time high, which was last month at $875,000. So the median price alone just shattered a record and went up 25 grand. And then when we're talking about average home prices, well, also all-time high right now, all-time record. We are at $1,204,000 is your average property price in Vancouver. And that beats out the previous record of February 2021. It jumped up about $60,000 just last month. So let's jump back into individual asset classes here, where, as I had mentioned earlier, detached home sales, 130% increase. That's the sales volume. The price of the average detached home in Metro Vancouver right now is $1.7 million. That's an 18% increase from March of last year. Remember March of last year, we had just locked down. 1 year later, the average home is up 18%. And they went up 5% last month alone. Condos, apartments, 129% increase in sales from last March. Average condo price now, $716,000, 3.7% increase year over year, and 2.6 of that happened just last month. And then lastly, we've got townhomes, about 112% increase in sales since last March, or over last March rather. Average townhome price now, $872,000, or a 10.5% increase from a year before, and 4% of that happened just last month. Now, pulling back a bit, looking wider, nationally, Canada's sales are on track to break 700,000 units for the first time ever. And that's going to beat the previous record, which was, guess what, just last month, but beat it by about 150,000 units. So just massive numbers are happening all over Canada right now. So understandably, Canadians, when you hear these type of numbers and you see what's happened over the last 12 months, there was a recent poll, and it found rather that about 60% of Canadians believe that home prices are going to continue to increase over the next 6 months. And this is in an environment where Canada's population, it only rose by like 0.4% in all of 2020. That is the slowest annual growth dating back to 1916. 1916. So the lowest growth in 100 years. And we saw all-time high sales volumes by significant numbers. It's end users, it's locals. Everyone has moved into their pandemic property, I guess we'll call it. But here we go. Interestingly, we're talking about residential here. There's being a shift in the commercial market now. Downtown Vancouver office vacancies, it rose from 2.6% to 6.6% at the end of 2020. This data comes from Avis and Young. Now, downtown offices, they're about 30% occupied right now, but this again is starting to shift. And what I mean is there was a recent poll here over at Salesforce, which you may have heard of. They pulled their staff and they back in June and said, hey, how's everyone doing? Who wants to come back to work? Who wants to come back to work in the office? And back in June of 2020, only about 1 in 4, about 23% of people said they wanted to. Flashback to just last month, that number is now at 72%. So almost 3/4 of people that work at Salesforce said that they would rather come back to the office environment now. This, I think, is lending towards the Toronto data, where the commercial office real estate market is back to about 80% of its pre-pandemic levels. So as the vaccine continues to take hold, as people become more comfortable with this new world, the downtown core, of course, here in Vancouver is going to continue to be more attractive and bring people back into it. Okay, so what's going to happen next? Are we going to see this continue? Are we going to see it increase? Well, from our sort of boots on the ground perspective, the last week, the last 10 days or so are the first we've seen since the market went parabolic that there is suddenly definitely a sense of a shift. There's been homes that, a month ago would have got 20 offers and now they're only getting 4. There are some properties that are holding offers and getting none. There are some homes that are getting offers and they're accepting offers with subjects, right? Hallelujah. It's a good sign that things are actually going to slow down somewhat. So when I say slow down, real estate, especially in BC, barring any unforeseen circumstances or crazy policy changes, it's going to be a while to slow down. And I think what we're going to see is we're not going to see 3.5% appreciation rates, but we're going to slow down to 2 and maybe 1 month over month. I'm talking about here. So there are pockets that are starting to slow. It doesn't happen super fast, but it is starting to happen. So I think, we've seen the market go almost vertical with price increases. That's going to start to taper and continue to kind of go up for, well, I don't know. My predictions of late, they've been truncated or shortened by about 300%. So, the cycles are getting tighter and tighter. So while I foresee prices to continue to go upwards in GVRD in residential, the pace of that acceleration is slowing, but we do continue to see upward pressure in prices for likely the next 3 to 6 months. That's it for us today. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please, for more information and all your real estate needs, please visit thevancouverlife.com. And please, of course, subscribe and follow our channels. Thank you so much. Bye.